originally, the land that Granville Island is on was composed of sandbars, where Indigenous people harvested seafood. It was redeveloped in the early 1900s to become Industrial Island, which was a site for factories and warehouses. Once all of the factories were closed down, the island became quite an eyesore and was kind of a derelict place in the middle of the city of Vancouver. And so the idea to redevelop it into an urban oasis that was a people place, where people could come and visit, experience arts and culture, food, and also enjoy the beautiful waterfront location. That was the vision that at the time, and that is what we have here today.
Minutes from the downtown core is another region of this world in a city, Granville Island, surrounded by fish boats and pleasure craft with its huge indoor market.
So here we are at the Arts Club Theatre Company on Granville Island. This is one of 3 stages that the Arts Club Theatre Company operates. This is the Granville Island stage, the original stage of the Arts Club Theatre that started before this island was redeveloped in the 1970s.
Like many buildings on Granville Island, this was an industrial building before the 70s. And then in the 70s, there was sort of this beautification project of Granville Island. And in 1979, the Arts Club leased this space and the review stage across the street. We ran most of our big shows. This was our biggest theater for a long time. So a lot of our big shows were out of here.
So here we are on Railspur Alley in the Artisan District of Granville Island in Vancouver. Railspur Alley, rather, is the home to a number of artist studios and shops where you can watch artists create their own works and purchase them, or just enjoy watching the process.
I always to do some art. Yes, I was painting, woodworking. I've been to some art school when I was young, and then I found iron actually really good material to create art. Yes, it's really flexible, really friendly. Yes, easy for me, much more forgiving than glass and ceramic and wood. That's why for me, for my personality, the iron, that's the best way to create art. Yes.
I think the advantage of being on Granville Island as an artist, first of all, it provides a very personable and direct introduction to people, to your practice. People who are really, the general public may not have a really good idea as to what you do on a day-to-day basis. So here at Vancouver Studio Glass, we try to offer people, access to a functioning glassblowing studio. It's not something that I would expect somebody to have a well-developed perspective. But seconds after being here, you understand, things are happening.
Oh my goodness. So I'm sitting in front of the Carousel Theatre Company for Young People on Granville Island. This organization teaches drama as well as puts on performances with children as young as 3 years old, right up to teenage years, and even has baby raves, which the parents love to bring their babies to.
So Carousel Theatre was incorporated in 1976, which means we're almost 50 years old. And when we were first incorporated, we actually had a space somewhere else on Granville Island, just down the block. It's now My Island Cafe, but there's a little office space on the top, and that was ours. And so we just had one little office, and we made plays wherever we could. We didn't have a theater to use at the time. And then slowly, a few years later, in 1981, we took over the space we're in today. And so we've been here since 1981 with a little bit of renovation and expansion happening in the mid-90s. And 1996 is when we helped renovate the Waterfront Theater, which is just across the street. And that's been our home for just as long. So most of our theater, most of our plays happens in that space.
And this is Studio A. This is where we rehearse all of our main stage shows that happen across the street at the Waterfront Theater. There's so much space down here that is used for theater, and having that hub is really important, I feel like.
CMHC, who are the landlords technically of Granville Island, they really help us they give us really good rent, so they support our financial viability.
So no, it's really friendly rent here for me because it's like government. So I think government supports the artist.
I think Granville Island walks a very tight line between respecting, providing a place that respects an artisanal need and fulfilling an expectation to a visiting public. This is the kind of place that's a destination, and it proves that the public can share in that experience. It's not a retail experience. I think it has a significance that kind of transcends that monetary value. But I found the best, most meaningful contribution I can make is in my studio to the person coming in on the street, because that experience is what makes this island happen.
Absolutely, there's a balance there that we are always trying to achieve between maintaining the economic viability of Granville Island and making sure our businesses are thriving. We also want to have a space where they can afford to work and live. And so we offer very affordable rents for our artists. So this is something that we work on all the time, how to find that balance between the economic viability and supporting the communities, supporting artists, supporting performing arts. There's always more to be done. Granville Island is always evolving and growing, and those objectives and priorities that we have are long-term. Some of them we have been able to make great strides, others take much longer. When we do visitor research, we find out that people really do love Granville Island and want to continue to support it. So I think that it's as appealing as it's been ever since it opened in 1979.
I would be surprised if it's able to stay for much longer. And not for the work that we're doing, and not for the lack of effort, but the overhead and cost is so high, and the degree of specialization that's required to do the work, unless you're in a structure that encourages that sort of approach, it's just not efficient. I'm not projecting responsibility on any other party, but it's extremely challenging to do, and I think it's still generally misunderstood. And so, it's not exactly a growth industry. It's very specialized, niche.
Granville Island was such a part of me growing up in the summer and having family visiting and coming to see it. And I think people really love to bring people here to see what's around and how beautiful it is here. So I hope that it continues. I mean, I still see plenty of people in the summer, and I certainly have a hard time finding parking.
I mean, we have all read the articles that by 2080, the Granville Island is going to be underwater. So, and we're all worried about that earthquake, but you know, that's out of our hands. But in terms of being a vibrant cultural space, what we really need is for people to come out and see theater. And I'm not talking about just carousel theater. Go out to see an arts club show, go buy a broom, come for coffee on the island, and just really support the local businesses here.
There's rent, but rent not that crazy. Like it's supposed to be, they support the artist. I hope it's going to be same in the future. It's not going to change. In the future, less culture, more price.